Hello everyone, so let's take a look at the GTX 1050 Ti, a somewhat mid-range GPU that was released back in the day for around $150. I'm going to pit this thing against my own Ryzen APU, which is the 4750G. But why? Well, you see, my sister recently upgraded to an RTX 3060 and she gave me her 1050 Ti that was inside. It's in my main build ever since, but I wanted to see if it really outperformed my Ryzen APU. Before we start this comparison, let me tell you how much I overclocked both. So the 1050 Ti was likely overclocked with a 200 MHz offset. Memory also got an overclocked of around 1000 MHz. For the Ryzen APU, I overclocked it to 2.4 GHz. I also took the time to adjust the RAM timings. So that's really all about it. So let's start first with Tales of Arise, the demo. Tales of Arise showcased a pretty noticeable performance difference. The 1050 Ti got an average of almost 45 FPS, which is well above the Ryzen APU here. The 1% lows are almost 30 FPS on the NVIDIA card, ensuring a smooth experience with a 30 FPS lock. The Ryzen APU here isn't doing too bad as long as you don't mind the stutters, which are below 30 FPS. In Final Fantasy 15 demo, the 1050 Ti got an average of 51 FPS, which is well above the Ryzen APU. Still, the Ryzen APU isn't doing too bad here, delivering a respectable average of almost 40 FPS. That said, the NVIDIA card isn't doing that much better over the Ryzen APU. In Sword Art Online Fatal Bullets, the results are pretty interesting. The 1050 Ti is slightly ahead with an average of 57 FPS, but the Ryzen APU got an average of almost 52 FPS. This really shows that the two are really similar when it comes to bandwidth and performance, at least when both are overclocked. In Phantasy Star Online 2 NGS, things are also interesting. The Ryzen APU on Linux greatly outperformed the game on Windows. So on Linux, it got an average of 43 FPS against the 26 FPS it got on Windows. The 1% lows are pretty terrible on all cards, which is most likely due to the fact that the game was running on a mechanical hard drive. So I highly suggest that you upgrade to an SSD for this game. The story is different for the 1050 Ti here, however. It's much faster on Windows than it is on Linux. In fact, here the Ryzen APU on Linux is faster than the NVIDIA card was on Linux. As I wrap up this video, remember this: the GTX 1060 was the wiser choice for gamers back then. It was twice as fast as the 1050 Ti, but it was almost twice as expensive. I mean, as far as I remember anyway. But it was the better choice for gamers. It wasn't too expensive. It was above $200. But now, if you're considering an upgrade and you need a cheap used card, I would recommend the RTX 2060 Super. The RTX 3060 is also pretty similar, and it's got more VRAM, and it also supports rebar. Or even the RTX 3070, which is not that much more expensive on the used front. For AMD, there is the RX 5700, which, in spite of being an RDNA 1 card with no ray tracing and no VRI support, it outperforms the RTX 3060. So thank you for watching, and bye.